All right, all right, all right. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Surviving Second Gen podcast. So this is part two to the episode that we had last time about learning to trust yourself. So this is a part two. If you haven't listened yet, please go listen to part one. That gives a little bit more of an intro about why it's so hard to trust yourself as a second generation immigrant, especially when you've had strict parents. Today in part two, I want to talk about how to actively do this trusting yourself process. So what are the steps to take? Because I think a lot of people want to have practical takeaways. Part of growing and learning is talking about things, acknowledging, understanding how it's affected you. And part of growth and healing is actually finding ways to overcome that. So I think that's will be useful for a lot of people listening, or if you want to share this with others who you feel can learn something from this, please do. Part of the work that I do is helping actual people who are going through this do it in real life in my work as a therapist. So this is kind of a nugget that doesn't replace therapy, but I think that it gives you just practical steps to start doing the work, because again, therapy is more like a treatment over time. It's also part of what makes the therapy process work is the relationship that you build with your therapist. So hearing things about on things that people do online or how they do things just will never replace therapy. Just saying, okay? So yeah, we were talking last time about how much you question or you can internalize a lot of things when you grow up with parents who don't give you a chance to learn things on your own. And ultimately it makes you not trust yourself, makes you not know how to make certain decisions, make it hard for you to stand in decisions, which can ultimately make it hard to be an adult because being an adult is doing all of those things, is knowing what decisions to make, knowing how it benefits you, the people around you, work environment, social settings, all of that in the third. So let's get right into it. For me, these are practical things that you can do. I would say like in an ordered fashion, like the first thing that I say you want to do first, the second thing that I say you do second, and so on and so forth. Because yeah, I think it's a thing that you're building up to do certain things. So the first tip that I would say to use to really learn to trust yourself is to really hone in on a strong mind-body connection. So if you know anything about trauma or past issues of identity or things that strip away identity or make you grapple with identity, so trauma, abuse, or anything of that nature, it affects your body. So your body reacts to it. And that also affects your mind. So how your mind interprets it and how it shows up in your life. So any type of emotional, physical abuse, any type of trauma. And again, a lot of times when we think about trauma, we think about like the overt things that people see, like some type of physical abuse that person can describe or emotional abuse that a person can describe. But as we've talked about in previous episodes, trauma is not always so overt
Like when we talked about generational trauma, intergenerational trauma, that's not something that's so overt, but it happens a lot in immigrant families. So you can include that in what we're talking about right now. So if you've had to deal with intergenerational trauma, this work is for you. If you had to deal with breaking cycles, this work is for you. Okay. So basically, the mind body connection. And it's not anything super out there, super theoretical. If you read books like The Body Keeps Score, I'm trying to think of another book off the top of my head. It's It Didn't Start With You, I think. Books like that talk about how trauma affects you, and how things stay in your body and how it shows up in your body. And when you don't actually deal with that, then it can alter your sense of self. And there's something about doing mind-body work that really helps bring a person to knowing more of who they are and having a good sense of that. Mindfulness is something that is talked about a lot in the therapeutic community. Not something I made up, something that's been around for a while. But people from immigrant backgrounds oftentimes may not know what mindfulness is. And it's really about being in the present. So mindfulness helps you stay in the present and really understand and manage your emotions. So mindfulness is a type of mind-body work, and that's a broad language, mind-body work, because I'm not trying to get super technical. But again, we're trying to think about how we can get ourselves aligned and not misaligned due to things that have happened to us. So mindfulness work is really practical. So it's really about doing things that builds back that mind-body connection, that makes it come together and doesn't feel like two separate things. So I don't know if you've ever felt like you just feel off with being in your own presence, like being by yourself and sitting with yourself feels uncomfortable. Whether it's alone or like alone in your house or in public, like there's a awkwardness about being alone. There's an awkwardness about sitting in your presence, and not doing anything else, but just sitting in your presence is weird. And that may be because you have a misaligned mind-body connection. So practical things that you can do to build that back up is things that allow you to spend time alone, and be in the present. So things like taking nature walks. So there's something about being outside and in nature that allows you to breathe better, that allows you to feel a sense that you can release control, a sense of calmness. Being in the sun also helps. The vitamin D that you get from the sun, which is also great for melanated folks. So these are the things that help you feel the sense of calm in your body as you do it consistently. And the movement that comes with the walking also helps release tension, emotions, pent-up anxiety, and can change a depressed mood. The sun specifically, because of that vitamin D. So that's why, it's recommended that you take vitamin D in the winter, especially if you live in a place with harsh winters like Seattle, like Boston, Alaska, places where it really gets gray, dark. You want to take vitamin D. I mean, I would say take it even if you're not in those super dark gray places, but in the wintertime specifically, because naturally you're not going to get as much sun. So, yeah, there's something about being outside and movement while you're outside that really helps change your mood and also makes you feel a better connectedness with yourself and your mind, because you're clearing your mind and at the same time you're moving your body, which helps you clear your mind. So that's where the mind-body connection comes in. Breathing, deep breathing techniques also help with that too. So breath work has been shown to be really helpful, especially with people struggling with anxiety. And anxiety can come up due to a lot of different reasons. It could be deep trauma. It can be just everyday stress. It could be inconsistencies. It could be uncertainties that can bring up anxiety. And for a lot of people, anxiety can be crippling. Like, people's day-to-day becomes really hard to get through because they're dealing with this deep anxiety that can sometimes really make it hard for them to just function. Because the anxiety, it becomes so strong to the point where they can, have an anxiety attack. And when you have an anxiety attack, you really do feel like you're losing your life, because it makes it hard to control your breathing. Your breathing becomes heavy. For a lot of people, they can feel chest pain, so heavy chest pain. They can kind of feel like this spiraling kind of feeling, like everything is just moving and it can't stop. It can't slow down. Their thoughts, the physical space that they're in. And that's really scary. If you've ever had a panic attack or an anxiety attack, it's really, really scary. So, doing deep breathing techniques outside of when you're having a panic attack already helps your body to de-stress. So when you take a deep breath, it literally tells your nervous system to relax. It tells your nervous system that everything's okay. Like you're at peace. So when you do that regularly, you're constantly telling your nervous system, you're okay. You're okay. Nothing to worry about. No danger. You're okay. So think about how that's helping your body, right? Your nervous system automatically relax, and then the message that is going to your brain that you are okay. So there's the mind-body connection right there. Just by doing deep breathing, you are building up your sense of security, basically, in yourself, in your situation. So that's another really good way to build your sense of security in yourself, sense of knowing that within you are safe. Another practical way, which people have probably heard about or have done already, is yoga. Yoga is so good for mind-body work, because the process of doing these slow, controlled movements that help you to slow down is just really, really good for your body, because it's literally doing a technique that from head to toe gets your body calm at an equilibrium. And at the same time, again, there's something about movement that helps release emotions. So I don't know how many clients that once I suggest they start yoga or they start yoga on their own, they're like, oh man, it's really helpful. Like, I love it. Like I look forward to it every day. Like, people love yoga. And there's different types of yoga you can do. Some are more in depth, and more spiritual based. And for some people that doesn't, align with what they want to do. But some are more basic and you're just really doing the movements and giving yourself time to slow down, meditate. So those are the things that really do help you in the moment. It's basically causing you to be in the moment. That's what I like about yoga. It's like you have no choice to be in the moment because you have to actually take time to do these controlled movements. If you've ever done yoga, it is not easy. So even over time, there's still some kind of challenge to it. So that's why yoga is so effective, because it really helps you actively practice mindfulness. Even if you didn't want to, you have to. And if you do some sort of class, then you know that you're scheduling yourself like, okay, every month I'm gonna be doing my yoga class. So it's an actual thing that you basically have set to do this work. You know what I mean? You don't have to really overthink it. You're going to be doing this work while you're in yoga, because I think sometimes for some people too, like the work feels like a lot because they have to think about, all right, let me take some time to go take a walk, or, let me go take some time to do this or that. Whereas if you take a class, that's it. You're signed up for the class, you're going to it. Same thing with any type of exercise class. I say yoga specifically just because, again, the controlled movements really help you slow down and get to this space of equilibrium. Whereas other exercises can be a little bit more difficult to get to that place, I guess. But overall, exercise is good. So even if you just go to the gym on your own, or you take a gym class, a kickboxing, a Pilates, whatever you feel interested in, I think people don't realize exercise goes beyond like being physically fit, looking good. There is something that happens to your mental health when you are consistent with working out. I mean, I see it myself because I have periods where I am so on it. Like I will work out consistently. When I mean consistently, like 3 to 4 times a week, at least an hour every session. And then there's times where I just fall off. Like there's no it's just either all or nothing with working out with me. And I know that's not healthy. But yeah, there are moments where I just go for a while and nothing is happening. And then I'm sitting there like, and it hits me and I'm like, I just don't feel motivated. I don't feel good. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I need to start going to the gym again. Like it does something for my mental. Or I need to start going outside again. It does something, So being intentional about working out does something for the mind, for the body. So now that you've got the mind body stuff going and you're consistent with that, and that's always something I tell my clients in therapy, is build consistency with one thing first before doing something else. Because a lot of people want to just do all these things to change their life, and it doesn't stick because it's too many changes at once. Let's be realistic. If you've been doing something your whole life one way, you can't expect to change the entire way that you think and do things just by starting it. Like, that's just not realistic. And that's just not how most human minds work. So that's, again, another benefit of therapy is you have that plan usually set up with your therapist on what you're working on first, how long you're working on it, and then you add on something else that will be part of, the treatment plan that you're doing. So first you want to build consistency with these mindfulness practices. And then the second part is how you go about making decisions in your life. So for me and for the clients that I work with, really learning how to trust yourself, happens when you're able to make decisions without the opinions of others. And that may sound almost impossible for a child of immigrants, because the way that immigrant parents will make you feel like if you don't get their input into something that it won't turn out right is, I mean, there could be a whole book written on it if there isn't. Because again, when they build this idea or just this feeling that there has to be a codependency, like you have to depend on them to survive, basically, it makes it hard for you to feel like you can make a decision without asking their opinion, without getting their approval. Not even asking their opinion, but without getting their approval. And if they do say something that makes you question what you're doing, you question it and you may not even go through with it. But there's something about making a decision, standing in it, waiting for that situation to be done, and feeling okay with whatever the outcome is. There is something about doing that builds your confidence in who you are and trust in yourself to make sound decisions. Even if you make a decision and the outcome doesn't turn out the way that you want, but if you're able to make that decision on your own, again, without the opinions of others, there's something that happens there where you are building trust in yourself. So that's the challenge, is to think about things that you want to do. Think about the things that you want to accomplish. And you could start with small things, right? So maybe it's something that, a goal that you have for next week, right? Maybe you want to get a new couch. And usually when you buy something new, you ask your parents, you send them pictures, you ask them what they think, you ask them how much you're spending, so you can get insight on, what you should do or what you shouldn't do. Challenge yourself to do your own research. So research how much the couch costs, research the dimensions, take pictures or get pictures to see how it would look in your space. Think about how you'll get it into your apartment or house. Think about the durability of it. Do all that extensive research on your own until you come to a decision and say, this makes sense because I've done all my research. I didn't make a haphazard decision. I took my time. That's the important part of this entire process, is taking your time. You're not rushing. You're just telling yourself, I'm giving myself enough time to do this research so I can make a sound decision without the opinion of others. Okay? So again, we're starting small. There's going to be bigger things later, but right now we're just talking about a couch. So you did all your research, you did everything. Then you make the decision and you make the purchase. You make the purchase and then it comes. Your couch is here. You sit on your couch. You watch your TV on your couch. Then afterwards, you could tell your parents, like, I bought this really nice couch. And they may be like, what? When did you buy a couch? You didn't tell me. I know. I did my research and I figured that it was a nice couch. Hey, you want to see it? Maybe, you might want to tell them that. Or maybe you don't want to tell them, hey, do you want to see it? But either way, you let them know, yeah, I did my research. I got the couch and I like it. And you keep doing that for different things that you want to get done in your life. You take the time, you create the timeline, you make sure you research in the way that makes sense, and you follow through. And there's something about that builds the trust. And for different things or for more serious things, There's nothing wrong with getting sound counsel, but I'm saying specifically sound counsel. So, getting advice from people who know what they're talking about. Either they've experienced it or they are some type of knowledgeable expert in it, and can empathize with, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So not just anybody, right? So I think a lot of times, especially when you're a child of immigrants, you default to your parents because they have to know. They made it seem like they know, so that's who you go to. But there's a lot of things that my parents know, and there's also a lot of things that they don't know. There's a lot of things in my life that I've had to learn on my own or through having conversations with other people who know more than I do. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what seeking sound counsel is about. It's you are connecting with people who know what they're talking about. There's not one person who is an expert at everything. No one. So it's okay to reach out to your parents about their unique experience of coming into this country that most people don't have, right? But it's also okay to reach out to a financial advisor about your finances because that's what they do. You know what I mean? So you don't want to, set yourself up to just rely on your parents to make sound decisions. So when it comes to bigger things, take your time and find the people in your community, in your surroundings that know what they're talking about so you can get the insight that you need to make the decisions that you want to make. So those are the things that I feel like if you really take the time to practice, really builds up your sense of self, really builds your trust in who you are as an individual, so that you can make sound decisions. To go even further, I do a lot of emotionally focused therapy work. And that's something that you do in therapy, where you really learn how to understand your emotions, learn how to manage them so that you can make informed decisions. That also is helping you have a sense of self, because if you know what you feel and why you feel it, then you can learn to manage that and then take steps to work through whatever feeling that you have, or take no step at all. Sometimes there is no step that needs to be taken. So that's the process that you figure out when you're learning to manage your emotions. So that is work that, again, you do in therapy, that you do with a therapist, because they help you go through the steps. They help you with the accountability and just the process of how to do it effectively. So something to consider if you want to take it up another notch. I love doing emotionally focused therapy work with immigrant clients, because a lot of immigrant clients don't know how to get in touch in that way. And when they do, it just opens another door for them that they didn't know that they had access to, basically. So I hope these little tidbits were helpful. Like I said, I just wanted to give something that was practical, that people could take away with them from this episode, and do really the process of understanding who they are and trusting themselves more, especially as children of immigrants. Stay tuned for our next episode that will be coming out soon. I really, really thank you for tuning into this one. go to our YouTube page, subscribe to that page. I'd love to start having conversations on there because I know there are people who ask questions, DM questions, but YouTube can be a community for that. So let's see if we can get connected there. But if nothing else, I will see you all at the next one. Bye.